Ooh. Well, hello. Here I am uh, for lesson number 5. Today we are September 4th, 2021. We started this in July. I can believe we're already in September. And today we are learning about building a network. So in the past weeks, we've learned about actually starting your brand, creating your brand from something as, not to say basic, but something as little as just taking a picture. And now we're looking today at how we can take your work in a gallery or on a stage or online or in festivals. So basically the do's and don'ts and how to go about it. So we are acknowledging that we are doing this class on the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. Very thankful for that today. Again, going back at our objective from the beginning, so that participants will learn different strategies and ways to increase their visibility online and offline as they best prepare for the 2021 Vancouver Outsider Arts Festival. Our learning outcomes. So now that we have done the course, this is the last course, we can go over a bit the outcomes that we've had. So number 1 was to increase our communication skills as artists. So basically to be able to talk about your work and important key elements of your work. So basically your video that you've been doing that are all amazing, and your digital portfolio that represents you best, that you chose social media or websites. So now you have something under your bag moving forward. To have a greater knowledge on the role of social media in artistic promotion. Okay, so you've done images, you've done videos, you picked a promotional tool while learning last week about copyrights and intellectual property when sharing your work online and tools around that. And to increase your abilities to use basic technological tools. So basically how to make video with your personal devices, how to do media, add watermark, edit videos and images. So basically these learning outcomes apply to all form of art. So that you're a visual artist, that you're a spoken word artist, that you're a singer, songwriter, all of these things here, we're looking at really how you could take these things and go and promote yourself. So if you're looking at our beautiful timeline here, we started course 1 by taking pictures and looking at our beautiful ring light that we got. Then we learned about artist identity and how artistic identity really is the key to your soul, to your practice, to who you are, and that never forgetting about who you are has an impact on your practice. Therefore, raising that confidence to talk about your art when addressing galleries and network and your peers. We've learned about different promotional tools, okay, on how to really add this artistic identity within promotional material. We've learned about copyrights and privacy to make sure that your work is your own. And now today we are learning about the creation of a network. So our schedule, if I'm on time today, most likely not, but let's pretend this is the schedule. 11:10 to 11:40, there will be some theory. Then there will be an earlier break because I want to make sure that there's enough time today to show most of your presentations, or if you don't want to share, you just want to talk about it, it's totally fine too. And a wrap up and questions leading up to the festival. So today's menu, our quick review as usual. We're going to learn about creating a network and next steps, presentation, last words, and wrap up. Material, all you need today is your computer, a personal device, or anything to watch me. All right, so this is it. This is our big review. This is as much as we've got on our plate. And then if we can even add something to our sheets for next week. So we are reviewing from day 1 that adding the grid mode will help you with the composition of your pictures or videos, that an artistic statement tells the audience about your process. It is written in a first-person point of view. An artistic biography tells your journey and experiences as an artist. It is written at a third-person point of view. An artistic resume is similar to regular resume, but it's focused on your art. Always use SMART goals when planning your artistic endeavors to make sure that you're not overwhelmed or stressed. Social media tools you can use include Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter, ArtStation, and more. A website should have a landing page, artworks, an About Me section, and a contact information section. A brochure should include a cover page, or name or logo, an eye-catching image, an artist statement, a contact page, images, and a call to action. Copyright applies to all original literary, dramatic, musical, and artistic works, provided the conditions set out in the Copyright Acts have been met. And there are various ways to protect your art online, such as signing your work, adding watermarks, and creating letters of authenticity. Here we go. Now, last week, I told you that we were going to talk more today about what a certificate of authenticity is. So that is geared more towards visual artists, something that was brought up in conversations before. Basically, the certificate of authenticity, where it's different than, for example, Music Act, or is that when you do an actual piece, it's your image that can be taken. So there's not always like a proof that this is your artwork. So this can totally be applied to credits when you write music. So basically, you can take all this information whenever you're writing about a song, whatever you're doing, a spoken word, and kind of like twist the information around to create a document that you can give to producers, that you could keep for yourself when producing music. But when you are looking at a certificate of authenticity, when it comes to visual art or anything that you are presenting online for social media, okay, that it's a cover art for a single cover that you're doing, an image that shows that it's you, a visual piece that you've done, it is a document that proves that your work is authentic, that it's yours, okay? It should come with any work that you produce, that it is in galleries or not. This is even something that I, as an artist, have not. I'm going to be fully honest with you, like I don't always do it. And now that I'm reading this, like I realize that I should every single time. Like what I've been doing in the last months is after after 2 weeks of doing my work, now I'm like, okay, I'm setting up a time in my schedule every Sunday afternoons, let's say, and I keep up with my letters of authenticity to all the work I've done. For sure, like it's all paperwork that can be taken away from my creativity. 100% get it. So just if you set up times in a week where this is exactly what you do, and you catch up on the last week or two of work, it's totally fine. But as long as you have it for you, okay? Because there's a document here that is declaring that the work has been created by you. Okay, it is your thing. It shows that your work is worth investing in, and it shows a level of professionalism, okay? So to create a certificate can be done by you at home, okay? It's not something that you need to go and buy like a special paper at the store. It's something that like definitely I do it at home from Pages on my own. I'm gonna tell you what to include in it. It's simple, you create your own template and then you just fill it out every time, change the words, okay? It just becomes an habit in your profession, okay? That's the same for any musical acts that are crediting their work, okay? Copywriting their work, making sure that like you're taking credits for the lyrics and when did you write the song, at what time, okay? Like this is an audio that was recorded on January 22nd. A certificate of authenticity when it comes to music or spoken word can be also to keep track on exactly when you've recorded which part that can be available online or on streaming platforms. So what do you include in a certificate of authenticity? So this is more for visual artists. That is something that was brought up before. So you put your artist name every single time, the title of your work, the year of completion, your dimensions, the medium, and this is very important, a photo of the artwork, because without a picture, okay, you may not like it can be any artwork. The statement can be attached to anything, Okay, so make sure that like now that you know how to take a good picture of your artwork for course number 1, okay, with the triangle setup, remember? So you take that picture and then you add it onto the document on your Word document or on your Pages document, okay? And make sure that every time somebody is interested in your work, they're able to see that certificate of authenticity, okay? And make sure that there's a statement of authenticity on it. For example, this is to certify that the print identified here is an original and authentic. So what to include again, okay? Your signature, make sure that you sign it, that you add the date, okay? Your contact information, okay, all the time. For example, if people have questions about the piece or they want to know more, let's say, same with the link to website or portfolio, make sure that you boost that promo as much as you can, because you may be at home and then you have your best friends coming in for tea and Scrabble, you know, and then you're sitting out at the table with your Scrabble, and then somebody looks at your piece on the wall and they're like, this is a gorgeous piece. Where did you get it? And you're like, oh, I don't really remember. Oh, I have the certificate. And then they have your address, they have your number. So then you can build more of a clientele that way, but that's more directed to the piece. Okay. Also make sure that it's that you write if it's an original or if it's a print. Okay. And have a tracking number or certificate number. Okay. So this is very important as well because it adds to the authenticity. Okay. So for example, your piece number 022 is, I don't know, Stroll in Vancouver, and it's acrylic on canvas. So then you know, like you have a worksheet, like a word spreadsheet or like an Excel spreadsheet where you have every single number associated with the piece. And then if it sells, then you can also, for example, if it sells through a gallery, well, then you can say sold through Vancouver Fine Art Gallery. If you sell it on your own, you can say sold to Ollie, and then you can put their contact information. So then you can also keep track of where your work is. Okay, so let's say one day, or when, we don't say one day, when you will be super famous and you'll be the new Picassos or the new Madonnas or the new Beethovens, then you know, if any people say, I want to do an art show of your best work, then you know where to find all your pieces if people want to borrow your pieces for your amazing showcase of your life, right? And you can add a rubber stamp if you want. It's not necessarily, you don't have to do it. Like I don't do it all the time, but like if people buy your piece, let's say, and then you have like rubber stamps or like some sort of like, you know, those stars you present certificate, you can add it onto it. So it adds a level of professionalism. It's not mandatory. It's not something I would lose sleep over if I don't have time to do it. But if you can, it looks good on you. Okay. So there we go. Now, the question of the hour, the question that everyone was asking me last week, especially leading up to the festival. This again is more towards visual artists, because when it comes to performing arts, it's a little bit different because you also have to go with promoters, like things that you have to pay, you know, to make sure that you pay for the room, pay for yourself. But again, there's elements here that I will take and make sure that you do for yourself when you're a performing artist. So the number one thing, and this is, I would say, for everybody, okay? It's more, again, written for visual artists because that's more something that visual artists have to do, okay? But this is like a state of mind for every single artist. You cannot let emotions get in the way of pricing your work, okay? And I know it's going to be comes across blunt, but it's also something that I have to deal with as you know, as an artist, is you have to step back and look at it as a product. Because basically, if the piece is too sentimental, maybe it's not the right time to sell it. I'm giving us an example. I have in front of me like one of the pieces I've done. It's a horse. To me, it's the most amazing piece that I've ever done. I love it. adore it because I did it. Oops. Is everything okay? Have I lost my, oh, sorry. Resume share. There we go. Like, because this means the world to me because it was done with the watercolors of my grandmother, and I found the watercolors as soon as she passed away. So I have an emotional connection to it. So I would say I would never let this piece go unless it's like $5,000 or like $5 million. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you have to realize you have to step aside and say, okay, this is my emotions telling me that this is worth $5,000. Maybe it's not worth $5,000 because the viewer, somebody from a gallery, buyers don't have the emotional attachment to your piece that you do. Okay, so if you are feeling like this is way too personal for me, maybe it's not the right time to sell it. Okay, and it's okay to tell yourself this isn't the time to sell this piece. Okay, but at the same time, you have to have confidence in the price that you set. For all the other pieces, you cannot, like, this is like, I'm giving you an example of one way that is like extreme of, I'm not getting rid of this because I love it too much, to, oh, this isn't my best work, like I'm feeling not comfortable selling this for more than like $200, even though you work like 60 hours on it. So this is kind of like where, again, you have to look at it more with the confidence and the price that you set, and then you have to make sure that you stand your ground. Okay, standing your ground comes with practice, comes with being in the business. If you don't feel that you're able to stand your ground right now, it's normal. I was not able to stand my ground when I started my career. So don't worry. It's something that comes with experience. It's like any job. You just become better at it. There's things that you're learning to block, same things like when I get like, when I teach at school and like some people are mad or angry, I'm able to just like, let those voices out and go through my day. There comes a time when you'll feel this way. Okay, so don't let inner voices tell you that your work is not worth the price, or customer try to convince you to lower the price. Okay, you don't go to Safeway and try to convince the people to say that no, the bananas should be 20 cents cheaper. You shouldn't feel that your work should be negotiated because you're an artist. Okay, so if you're not going to negotiate the price of milk, then you don't or if you're going to go to, let's say, I don't know, Structube, and then say, no, your table should be $100 less, they're not going to budge. They're going to be, this is the price, this is the price. Well, you as an artist have to be this way. But again, it has to be done with confidence and not arrogance. Okay, so if a customer does not want to give you what you're hoping for, then perhaps it's not the right customer for you. Okay, I know sometimes we're tempted to just make the sale because I want to make the sale, because I want to make the sale. And I 100% get it. Like when I don't make sale, after a while, sometimes I just get a little discouraged. I'm like, well, what if I do a discount? But then you kind of start underselling yourself, and like you show that like your work can be discountable, that it's not worth what it should be. Okay, so like keeping that steadiness in terms of sales, I'm going to talk more about it after. Okay, is key. Same thing for performing arts, right? Once you've thought about all the expenses that you have to do to perform somewhere, from insurances, from paying the staff, paying for the lighting, paying for your copyrights, paying for anything that you have to pay, what is left for you? Are you giving yourself enough money from ticket sales? Okay, and that's when you create a show of your own. Obviously, here I'm talking more about like when you're not being paid to be somewhere. Okay, but when you have to create an opportunity of your own, you need to make sure that, like you're not cutting yourself short. It's like, okay, well, $20 ticket at the door covers my costs and leaves me to $2 for myself. And then you sell like 20 tickets at $2 and then you make $40. That's not enough. Perhaps you need to rise up to like $30 a ticket, so you have $12 a ticket. okay? Because you have to consider the amount of time that you've put in to prepare that show, and it's not worth $40. You know what I mean? Like it's worth like the time you've put in to put the show together, okay? So things to consider, okay? So this, again, when you want to sell your work as an independent artist, okay? Looking at the pricing of other artists who do similar work and ask them questions. Don't be afraid to go, the worst thing they're going to say to you is, I'm not sharing. So you already know the worst case scenario. So there's nothing, you're not going in the unknown feeling like, oh no, I'm not, what is going to happen? Well, you know the worst. The best thing that can happen is that you leave with this beautiful folder filled with information and a new friend. And if not, they're just going to say like, bye, so just take a chance, take a risk. Okay, same thing and that's for visual artists, performing artists. Go talk to people. How do you set up your feet? Like when you started, when did you feel you can increase your feet? It's totally fine. Okay, go to local galleries and look at the pricing of the artwork, or go to concerts of people that do similar work as you or similar pieces, and look at how much it is. Okay, how much do they charge? When do they charge? Okay, and then once making a decision on how much you're going to sell for or ask for a price for a ticket, try to keep your prices similar in all locations that you're in. This is maybe a little more for visual artists, because sometimes, of course, when you're a performer, okay, sometimes the prices can be higher depending on the size of the venue or people that you have to pay. So of course, things may change, fluctuate for things that are like out of your control, but your initial pay, what you're expecting for yourself, should be steady all along. Okay. The reason why I say this is, for example, you're in I don't know, the Love Gallery. Okay, the Love Gallery is super famous, and then they hire you, they take you on as a permanent artist, and then they decide to sell your work $2,000. But then, because you also want to show your work everywhere, as you should, decide to show at the Star Cafe, and then you're charging $500. For your customers, what does it make you? They're like, well, first of all, they're all going to go to the Star Cafe because they're like, well, I want to pay $500 for the same thing or similar painting than what I would get at a gallery. But then what's your relationship with the gallery after? Because then the gallery is like, well, I'm trying to sell your pieces, but then you're selling them cheaper when you can sell them on your own. Therefore, like, I'm not making money off of you. So it can also like burn bridges if you're not being steady. Being steady doesn't mean that like things cannot fluctuate. Of course, we're going to look later about how things can fluctuate. But if there's too much of a gap, then it's confusing to like the audience. It's confusing to your customers as well, to like, why is this same piece $500? Like, is this artist like having a hard time selling? Like, that's what happened to me once. One day I was like, I totally thought, oh, I'm going to do a sale, I'm going to do a discount on my pieces. And I did it once and I regretted it just for that reason, because I didn't end up selling because people were questioning more why I decreased my sales. Why suddenly like my sales point was much lower than normal. So it was more like, is this piece worth it? And then all I thought about was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to do a clearance because I want to do a brand new collection and I'm kind of want to move forward. Like I didn't even think about it. But then I realized that doing this big of a sale actually impacted my my clientele in a way that they were questioning things more than like being like, oh, right, Ollie needs more space. Like, because they don't know what's in your head. They only see a discount, right? So to keep that like across the same is very important. Okay, so what if you're doing on your own and then you don't have to give commission? Great, you just made more money for yourself on your own. So can't turn down more money. And basically at the end, keep track of all of your expenses along the way. And that is for everybody. Okay, because as soon as you make money, you're paying taxes. right? So you have to be in mind that like, if you're an independent artist and then you're still getting income if you sell tickets, if you sell like your songs, if you sell paintings, you're making money. Therefore, you with the taxes, they will see as an income, but then you need to make sure that you show your expenses as well, because that can have an impact when in terms of like, I'm not a fiscalist here, like I'm the son of a chartered accountant. So like my dad's always made sure that I was on track with my finances, and I'm really thankful for that. But make sure that like every single thing that you spend is also there. Okay, like, so don't go, I'm gonna sell this for like $200, I'm underselling myself, but then you realize that like, oh, I've spent $100 last month for my website. I've spent $75 at Opus because like I saw a sale and I got carried away. And then I rent the space at the market. And then I had to take 2 cabs to make my way to drop my painting at this gallery. All of these things, and you realize that your expenses are $700, and then you made $200 on your painting. So you need to look at like, if you want to make money, first of all, you need to make sure that your overall like your expenses fit to how much you're selling, but also in terms of fiscal reasons, tax reasons, if they see that you've had an income of $200, but then you don't declare your expenses, then you're going to end up paying tax on your much more tax on your product. Okay, so if you want to know more about this, I can give you great names of chartered accountants. I'm not super great with all these things, but I all know is like, keep track of your expenses. You need, before you set your price for any work, super important. Okay, so I found 3 formulas to price your work. This is more for visual artists because that's what the question that was asked last week. A lot of people didn't really know how to market for the festival, how to set up a price. Okay, so there's 3 ways. I'm gonna go more into depth in the first 2, okay, because the third one is very similar to the first one. So there's a square inch times dollar amount formula, and there's the hourly wage times the hours spent plus the cost of material. So those are 2 ways that I'm going to explain. And then the last one is more height plus width times a multiplier, which is more like by lines if you separate your paintings, which I found a little more complicated. So I'm much more comfortable with the first 2 because the first 2 are things that I use myself in different occasions. Okay, so the first one is square inch times dollar amount. That is, to me, one that I use the most because I'm an abstract artist who work on bigger surfaces. Okay, so my paintings are maybe 48 by 48 inches. Most of them, or 36 times 48 are my smallest ones. So like, they're definitely bigger proportion. My materials cost me more money when it comes to do it, which may be different than somebody who, or when I do watercolors myself that are on a sheet of paper, which will be different. So I'm going to go more into depth after. So multiply here, the way it works is you multiply the width of the work by the length, then multiply this number by a dollar amount. Okay, so you choose a dollar amount that works for you depending on your experience. So if you're starting and you say, you know what, I'm going to charge $1 a square, and then, or $2, then this is your decision when you're starting. Okay, maybe as you get experiences, you're winning prizes, you're getting recognized at the Federation of Canadian Artists, winning prizes, and you're making a few galleries and you have a steady clientele, and then you see that where you're going is definitely more upscale, then you can decide like, now it's time, because I have this representation, to go up to like $3 or $4 a square footage. If you're doing work on the street, which this is exactly how I started. Like 3 years ago, I was on the corner of Denman Street with a table and I was selling my work. And now I'm in galleries. I definitely don't have the same, how can I say, price amount now than when I was carrying my work and sitting at English Bay and hoping people were going to buy my paintings, because I know by the water, people were not going to give me $5,000 right away. Okay. So basically choose your dollar amount. It can change according to the style or your size of the painting. So you can say, you know what, every time I do an abstract, that is just more bigger, brighter colors, I'm going to charge $1. But whenever I do a watercolor, I'm going to charge $2 or $3 because it's a smaller painting, but it takes me much more time to do. So you can have two different rates according to the style of what you're doing. Round to the nearest 100. So you can go up or down. It's your choice, depending on the situation. Okay. And then add the materials after. So double the amount according to commission's gallery state. So this one, if you are, for example, in a gallery and they take 50% commission, why should you cover your expenses all of your own? So basically, say you have $1,000 and then it's $500 for you, $500 for the gallery. But then off your $500, you need to pay your expenses. So leading up for you to have $300 in the end, which doesn't really make sense because then you're again paying for that. So if you have the materials, double it or add more to it according to the percentage of the commission. So in the end, the proportions remain fair for you. Okay. So if you're looking at, this one, for example, you have a piece that is 24 by 30. Okay. So then that's 1,200 square inches. So 1,200 square inches times $2, because that's your preferred amount right now. This is where you feel comfortable at. So your payment would be around like, that should be like 24. I don't know why did I put that. Anyways, 1,200 square feet. I should modify that because that shouldn't be like 2. Let me modify it after. But basically, there we go. We'll say by $1. I'm going to fix that with you. So let's say it's only $1 because I don't want to do my math right now. So you're rounding it up here to 1,200. Okay. So no, maybe I was right all along. You see, whatever. You get the thing. I shouldn't be teaching math early in the morning like this, just so you know. I misread my thing. So anyways, it would be, let's keep with what is there. So you round it up to like 1,400, and then your materials would be $100. So times 2, right, for the gallery. So that's $200. So then 14 plus the 200 would be around like 1,600. Okay, so I'm sure this is all wrong in my math. I should have asked mathematicians go over this with me. That's why I have it. That's why I get an accountant, right? Or get somebody that knows math to do this for you. Okay, but you get the formula here. You get your time with length times width, and then you multiply that by $1. Then you round it up or down. So then they would say here, even if I know it's not 14, there's no way 1,200 times 2 is 40. But then you see how I rounded it to 14. So then you can decide to go up or down. And then you add your materials multiplied by 2 if it's a gallery. If there is no gallery still there on your own, then don't do times 2, just keep times 1 and then just add it to the result. The other formula is the hourly wage. Okay. So this one, it makes sure that you're getting paid the hours that you work. Okay. So choose your hourly rate. I would say around $25 is mostly what's been recommended in many of the sites that I've looked at, and adapt it if necessary. If you feel, you know what, I want to start at $20, start at $20. Okay. Don't go at the minimum salary or under. You're giving yourself, you have to pay yourself for what your worth is. Okay. Look and see what other comparable artists are charging for their art and set an hourly rate. Okay. And then add your costs of materials. Okay. So that is another way to do it. As I've mentioned before, for myself, if I work on let's say a watercolor that is maybe the size of a regular sheet of paper, and then I spend 30 hours on it. Okay, that would make more sense to use this. If this is what you do, to use this type of method of calculation, then $1 or $2 per square, because then you have to look at it in a way that is the most profitable. Okay, but also keep everything around the same amount of money, right? For when I do bigger abstracts, the hours are harder for me to count, because sometimes I'm doing things in layers, and then sometimes I'll work on it 15 minutes and that's it, because then everything has to dry and I have to wait like a day for things to dry to add another layer. And it just becomes harder to calculate the amount of time. So like option one becomes easier for me to use. And then this one, maybe if you're like really like steadily like drawing, it may be something that is more works more for you. So basically there's not a right or a wrong way of choosing. It really is what works more with your medium and your practice, okay, where you're actually going to get a decent pay that is steady all along. Okay, and then let's see if my math is fine. So $25 times 10 hours, let's say it's 250. There we go. And then 250, and then you add your materials, let's say $100. So that's 350, right? But then that's an example. Like I say, you've put, like 10 hours here, and you may feel like, like and if it's like it may not feel enough for you for the piece that you've done, right? Like if you've worked 10 hours on an abstract that is the size of 48 by 48, and you're like, okay, well, then it's $250. Maybe it's not comparable prices compared to other pieces that are the same size that are being sold elsewhere. So then you see, if you did a smaller drawing, maybe that's a decent price, but like when you're looking at like bigger canvases, the other option of like a certain amount of dollars per square footage may be more comparable to what other artists in the same style as you would go for. So again, your best friend, Carfax, if you are a visual artist, a performing artist, they have on their website that I showed you last week, for every single type of artistry, the minimum that you should be paid for. There's a section for performing arts of like what contracts should look like in person in BC to in Canada to nationally to internationally, and what to expect. So if you are particularly for the performing artists, go to Carfax. Even for visual arts, go to Carfax. Like if you're being curated for a show, this is really like, explore that site. It's your best friend. Okay, and you can also become, as I told you last week, you can also become a member if you want. There we go. All right, so creating a network. Okay, now there's the last two, and this is really something that I wrote for you, of things that I've done out of experience as a visual artist in British Columbia, but also all across the country, of things that has helped me, okay, and that I'm sharing what I've done for my own business, and you can take it or leave it, but those are before you, and I'm writing this before how to reach the galleries, because you'll see that your initial network will be required or would be an asset for galleries. So, tips to create a network by me, Ollie. Number one, social media. We've learned how to create your social media page together. Okay, and this is for every single artist here. Okay, social media has social in it. We worked on the media part in this course, but social media isn't effective if you don't socialize. Okay, I have a lot of my artist friends who tell me, I've posted on social media and I've got 3 likes. I'm like, that's good, you got 3 likes. And then they get discouraged and they're like, well, why don't people more like my stuff? And then I ask them, did you go like their things? Did you go comment on their post? Do you send them personal messages saying that you'd like to connect? Social media, you can have the best looking Instagram page, but if you don't socialize, you're not creating a network. Same for YouTube. You want to show your pieces of music on YouTube. Amazing. It can be there for everyone to see with the hashtags. But if you want interaction, you need to go find similar pages, follow them, comment on their pages, say your piece is amazing. You should check out mine. We should connect, initiate those conversations. Okay. Focus at first on making connections instead of focusing on selling, because the selling would come. I know we all want to sell our work. We all want to be there 100%, but things have to come in time and you can't jump steps. It's like, see it as like when you apply for a job and then you start, let's say, as a salesperson, you cannot expect the next day to get a raise and then to be the president of the company. You need to work your way up. As an artist, you still have, even though it's not as prescribed in a way of like hierarchy, you still have to make your way up in a sense that like focusing on human interactions is what is eventually going to lead into profitable sales. Because people, again, when we're talking about your artistic identity, that comes from your identity, okay, will most of the time fall in love with you first for your initial sales. And they're going to say, this artist is amazing. They've told me about all their work. And then they're going to talk to their friends about you as a person, as a friend. And then that's when those people are going to be interested in your work because they were curious about your life. So that is a great way of starting to have the buzz around you, right? Because if you're selling right away, it's great that you sell right away. Don't get me wrong. Don't say no to a sale, but don't start your conversation with your networking in terms of you should buy my work. Make it about your artistic statement. Make it about who you are as an artist, but also show interest in who they are and like see their own passion as well, because you're building a clientele and a network. Okay. Always have business cards handy. Leave one in your car, in your bike, in your gym bag. You never know when a conversation is going to be there for you to be like, hey, that's me. Oh, I'm an artist. Really? Show me your work. And then you're like, oh, well, you need to go on this and that and that. I know everybody's like social media, but the old school platforms work. Don't underestimate the power of cards, posters, brochures. Okay, social media is an additional tool. It does not replace everything that's existing. Okay, I know we have to keep up with our time, and I believe we all do. But like to have a business card is still, somebody's gonna find it. Oh, right, their email. Like sometimes when you put things on your phone, you kind of forget about it. But then if you say, oh, I just find this card randomly, or you forget it somewhere, you forget your cards in a coffee shop. You go to a coffee shop and then you see there's like a pile of like local cards, just forget it there. It doesn't hurt. Show up to events and support other artists. That's number one. You're building a network, and then the network will not build itself for you. Okay, so you need to show up to everything. I mean, of course, if you're tired, you're sick, whatever. But like, as the more you show up, the more your name circulates, the better it is. And then the more people are going to show up for you because you're showing up for them. So they're going to think about you, right? If people say that you showed up to some event and like they hear that somebody's doing a landscape art and then, or they're a great singer and they're looking for a wedding, and then the first person that's going to come to your mind is last artist, so last person that you spoke to, naturally you're not going to see, let me look online who I can find for you. Is going to be like, of course, Chantal is an amazing artist, because you're creating that network and the names will come naturally to you. So showing up and being present is important. You can join many Facebook groups. There's Facebook groups for like singers of Vancouver, artists of Vancouver, art for sale, Canadian art for sale. Push your work there. Find people, start following people with your artist accounts. Connect with local organizations and support groups. There's lots in Vancouver. You're part of an amazing group right now with the Community Arts Council of Vancouver, but also there's Vancouver Community arts. There's like the Vancouver Biennale. There's great places, organization from Arts BC that you can be part of. Okay, sign up to their newsletters, show up to their event, show up to like the Art Vancouver painting session, even though you're not showcasing. You know what I mean? Like, don't say, oh, I'm not going to go out because they didn't pick me. Still show up, still show interest, because they're going to see like, oh, that person's always there. There's nothing wrong with building your own opportunities. Don't sit and wait for people to call you. Okay, if you're not being taken by a gallery, it's not the end of the world. There's so many coffee shops around town. There's no many rooms you can build and create, and those are all experiences that you're adding to your resume. An experience in your resume doesn't mean it's only worthy when a gallery calls you. It's your own show. You can be the curator of your own show and do your own event, and there's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing to be ashamed about. Join forces with local organizations or even charities. Okay, it's a great way to gain a networking. Also, always get contact information from people that you meet. Okay, so when you meet people and say, here, check out my art, and then you give them their card and say, and what's your name? Where can I find you? So then that way you can do a follow-up with them and say, hey, I'm doing this event. I met you, remember I met you at the gym when we were both doing pull-ups, I don't know. And then like, oh, suddenly I met you. Remember when we were doing pull-ups, I talked to you about I was going to do an art show. You should come, then you'll see what I was talking to you about that day, you know? And be patient. It doesn't happen like this. It may happen like this to you. Amazing. Go, run with it. If it happens to you like this, run with it. But if it doesn't, it will happen in time. You just need to keep investing in that social networking that you're creating for yourself. Oh, then we go. It always goes so fast. And now there we go. And now why contacting galleries or spaces comes after. And is things to consider is network and find galleries that fit your goals. So now that you know who you are as an artist or as a venue, let's say a venue that fits your goal. You know, it's wearing with your identity, you know where you want to go. Select the places or reach out to the places that you feel that you'll have the most growth for yourself. And again, everybody's growth is 100% different. We're all artists, and artists are different people. Art comes from who you are and what you want. So there's no judgment if somebody say, my goal is just to be in a coffee shop for the rest of my life, and I feel I achieved my goal. Amazing. My goal is just to paint at home and to push my stuff on Instagram. And if it buys, it buys. That's your goal. Amazing. I want to be in a gallery that I'm going to try to make it so I become an international superstar. That's your goal. Go for it. So different places will help you go and get that different goal. So go back to your artistic statement and feel comfortable speaking about your process, both via email and in person, in a less formal setting. So again, you know, we've written this artistic statement, but that artist statement, we've practiced with our video that we're doing for the festival. Bring it up again. You know, how are you talking about yourself in a professional way, but in an approachable way? Okay, so develop a relationship with the space. Again, it's a collaboration. Even though they may say yes or no to have you on site, at the end of the day, the gallery wants to, I'm going to be bluntly honest, they want to make money off of you. They want to stay open because they're a business. We can't blame them for that. But the same thing as you, right? You want to stay open. So your best interest is work collaboratively in a space that you feel that both the gallery and you can work together towards taking your goals to where they should be. Okay. So in that sense, you need to make sure, of course, the gallery has the right of saying yes or no, but the more you're able to express your goals, what you want to do, okay, it's going to be easier to know if it's the right fit. Okay. Also, make sure that you go over their contracts first. Okay. Look at their commission. Some galleries say you need to be exclusive with us. Are you ready to be exclusive with somebody? Is this your goal? You just want to paint for one gallery? That's totally fine. Is your goal to be seen everywhere in the world and that gallery is exclusive to Vancouver only? Maybe that does not fit your goal of what you want to do. Okay, so make sure that like you understand what your contract mean, and you can also seek advice or professional advice. You can call Carfax, you can call RSBC, and I'm sure there's so many organizations that will help you understanding parts of contracts that you may not know about, okay? And follow submission guidelines the best you can. That's the best way to have a relationship with the gallery. You kind of have to make it easy on them first. Like always, you know, like, and again, you have to see it in a way that like the gallery is there. You need the gallery and the gallery needs you, right? So you need to, or the space needs you, the venue needs you. The venue want to make sure that like your show is successful because they also are getting money from the ticket sales and they're making money from drinks, right? So like, even though it's about your show, you want to make it working. It's got to make sure that like you and the venue are on common grounds in terms of promotion, have a direction so both of you can benefit from each other, and not one that's kind of like holding you like here and like you're kind of like dictating what you have to do, right? So even though they're the ones giving the contract, you still have to look at yourself as a business collaborating with them and working with them to make sure that your own goals are working. So do make sure that you went over all of the gallery site before you contact them first. So have a strong understanding of the place, the artist, their values. Do they fit to who you are? If you want to go perform in this club and then you realize like they may not fit my clientele, maybe it's not the right place to go and do it, even though it's cheaper, right? You need to make sure that you understand what the place is about, what the history of the place is. When you contact the person, make sure that you know the person's name. Sometimes you may not know the person's name. So just talk about, I don't know who I have to address this to, but I'm really interested in working with the Commodore Ballroom, let's say. Have your bio statement and resume ready, as well as your portfolio handy right away. Okay, so make sure that you include this in your email so they have all the information about you right away. So basically you're acting like you're applying for a job. Okay, and they're the ones saying yes or no, but as mentioned, it's also collaboration when they say yes. Okay, if they say no, there's nothing you can do with it. Just move on, but you have to see it as it's business. There's maybe a reason why they're saying no. There's maybe a reason why they turned down my horse painting I was telling you about. Maybe they have 5 different paintings with horses. They don't even know horses. That has nothing to do with you. We cannot see these. You can ask for feedback for when they say no, but most of the time you have to look at it that it's like they have a business view, but you also have to have a business view, right? When you do this. So make sure that your contact information is up to date and that it works. And join the galleries or the space mailing list. Keep up to date. Maybe if then you know who's coming, you know why, or if you haven't been picked up and you see whose artists are coming in, you're like, okay, well then maybe I didn't really fit with that gallery or that space, or then you know, right? You're aware of what's happening, okay? But don't initiate first contact with a generic email, okay? So make sure that you do your research to make sure that your initial comments are personalized. So the name of the person, a few words about the gallery, who they are, like make sure that they don't feel like you've copied and pasted the same email to everybody, but that you show interest in the gallery. So talk about your work, talk about yourself, but also make connections with a gallery space. I do these landscape, and I know that your place has many of them, and it's been a landmark for landscapes in the city. And I feel I'm a great addition to what you have. Or like I've seen like this show at your gallery before. I've attended this thing. I love the vibe of it. It made me feel it's something that I would love to be part of. So basically, don't forget to talk about why you're reaching out. Okay, so I'm looking to show my work here. I said it's maybe too generic because they're just like, I'm looking to show my work. Okay, but then why our place? Like why should we collaborate together? Okay, so don't only make it about you. It's a work collaboration again. And don't forget the last one, that it is your business, that when you're selling art, you're doing business. When you're selling tickets, you're doing a business, even though the intention behind the art is an artistic creation that is not necessarily a business or a product. But when you do sell anything, when you do perform and when you get paid, it is business because it implies legal things, it implies contracts, it implies taxes. Okay, so won't forget that when you're dealing with this part of being an artist, like there's a, you have to sometimes detach, most of the time detach yourself from the emotions I mentioned before, to make sure that you're being respected, but also that you respect people that are going to want to collaborate with you. And then my last piece, my last one is support each other. That's the number one thing as an artist. Like I know a lot of people say, oh, I have different point of views, but my point of view is that like we're not competing with one another. If artists, especially visual artists, they decide one artist over another, it's personal taste, right? Like most of the time, like I do a painting that I think is the best in the world, and it's still in my storage room. When I do one, I'm like, yeah. And then someone's like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. And you're like, what, really? But then you have to be, oh, I know, right? You know, so you have to go with it. You never know. But by supporting each other, those are some of my, oops, before your presentations, last words of what I would say to you before I sign off is your colleagues at the festival right now is your network. Is maybe not your only network if you don't have a network, but I'm guaranteeing you right now that all of you right now are part of a network that can grow as part of the festival. Not stay on contact, but stay in contact, okay, and share opportunities. All of you here, if you're starting up, you have at least 15 people in this room right now, and that can be assets of like, hey, let's keep in touch. When are you doing your show? I'm going to show up. Okay, support each other. Use this network of what you're building together as a foundation. You can create an Instagram support group. I have that in many galleries where we have this group, this chat group where all of us support each other, tell us what we're doing when we have new posts. You can have Zoom or coffee dates whenever COVID ends or whatever you want to do. Expand your circle by showing to each other's events. Okay, continue to be on the mailing list of the Community Arts Council of Vancouver and be aware of the new opportunities and show up and bring your network. Okay, and organize group shows. You can organize group shows together. You can say, you know what, I'm not being picked up by galleries right now, but I have all this material. How about we join forces and do this collective, and then you bring all your friends, and then your network of people following your work will just grow, right? And that's something also for galleries I didn't mention before. Sometimes galleries will look at your networking and see how many people you can bring, right? So that's why I brought that up before. The actual gallery, the gallery will be like, you know, if I'm doing this opening and I'm investing in you, like, what are you bringing to the table? So this is a way here of like saying, like, you know what, I have this core group of people that will show up for me, okay? And your first successes on the scene may not be what you imagine, okay? But building a strong foundation like this one will help you grow a very organic and steady career, okay? So keep that in mind, that it's not because you're not selling that many pieces on the first week or first year that you're doing something wrong. You just have to look at it as like, okay, I'm building my foundation. My foundation, where's my networking? Okay, where am I? Like, you know, like building your career is not about the sales at first, even though you want the sales, you want the contracts, you want the gigs, right? But you got to start somewhere in that network. People need to know who you are in order to have people that are not in your circle attending your shows and buying your work. So here it is. It is time for me to hear about what you've been doing and who you are after the summer of courses, and see what you've learned and see how you can create a network and leading up to this amazing show that you're all putting together this fall as part of the Outsiders Festival that I can't wait to see. And thank you so much for tuning in every second Saturday this summer. It's been amazing. And I will see you soon. Bye.